Finally, we review a Justice League comic from the Satellite era with one of the best rosters the Justice League has ever had. And most of the team doesn't show up this issue. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Tales to Showcase, where we tell stories about the present in the future so they can be about the past. I'm your host, the Watcher of New Earth. As I said a few moments ago, today we'll be looking at a Justice League story from the Satellite era. What's the Satellite era? Well, it was the nickname given to the 15-year period where the Justice League operated out of an orbiting satellite. So, Justice League Satellite, Satellite Era, Satellite League. Published in 1982, Justice League of America number 206 takes place towards the end of the Satellite era as the team would disband in the coming years. This issue was written by Jerry Conway, who we've briefly mentioned before, and who is well known for his extensive run on this title. The art is done by Carmine Infantino, a legendary creator over at DC throughout the Silver Age, and who actually created Barry Allen and Ralph Dibny, who feature in this story. Excited yet? Well, you should be, a lousy cynic. This is Justice League of America number 206. Okay, so I know I don't regularly do this. In fact, I don't do it at all, but I'd like to take a look at the cover for a sec. Unlike the inside of the book, it was not drawn by Mr. Infantino, but rather by Dave Cockrum, an extremely talented artist whose work spanned decades. The cover overall is really good, but towards the bottom is what captures my attention. See, while the rest of the team is fighting the big guy in the center, Batman is instead standing aside and throwing the Atom into the fray. I mean, what? Does Bruce think he's playing Pokemon?
Ray, I choose you!
The book opens with the preview image for the story and a roll call for anyone unfamiliar with the characters. Roll call: Batman, Elongated Man, Flash, Atom, Zatanna.
And the aptly named Sir not appearing in this film.
Our story truly begins in the 25th century. Yeah, this story is narrated by a father in the 25th century. No real reason, just cuz. Anyways, yeah, we're in the 25th century. We join a father and son as they enter a space museum. The father, Thomas, reminisces about his boyhood days at the museum, while his son, Gardner, explores in awe. However, they come across an exhibit of a jar, a wheel, and a bell, which naturally seem out of place in a space museum. The plaque explains that they were used by the JLA to defeat 3 demons. Thomas seems content with that explanation, but it's revealed that Gardner doesn't know what the Justice League is. How do you live in the DC universe and not know about the Justice League of America? To answer his son's question, Thomas takes him to an exhibit dealing exclusively with the League. And, yeah, cynical as I can be, I have to admit that the thought of an exhibit like this, with giant statues of some of the world's greatest heroes, does sound insanely awesome. But as it turns out, Gardner had learned about many of these heroes at school, but did not know that they were part of a team. Again, how? How do you know about all these heroes and not know that they were part of a team? I mean, isn't that like learning about FDR and not knowing that he was the president of America during World War II? Jeez, I thought schools were bad now. But despite how awesome the exhibit is, it doesn't really explain the bell, wheel, and jar. So, Thomas decides to tell his son the story and says that there's a special reason for him knowing the story. Golly, I hope the reason isn't a total letdown. Spoilers, it is. The story begins 1 billion years ago, before the time of man, when the Earth belonged to 3 demons named Wrath, Gast, and, name pending. Thomas goes on to describe the demons' personalities. They toyed with life, like wanton children, torturing for amusement, killing out of boredom. Big deal. Zack Snyder gets paid to do that to beloved characters. After a while of operating without guidelines, they were discovered by aliens who banished Wrath, Guest, and, Skip. However, it turns out that the bell, wheel, and jar were created to get the demons out of any prison, just that it takes a few centuries to activate. After going over a few of the times the demons and the League crossed paths, Thomas reveals that at the time of this story, the artifacts that the League had as trophies were only magical illusions. Because why not? We need to fill a few more pages. Oh, but the best part is how the demons tricked the League. When the League is moving out of their original base to go to the satellite for the first time, they send Green Arrow to keep track of their trophies. Once there, Ollie is mind-controlled by the demons. This must be how they got him to agree to let Mark Guggenheim run his show. And that's really it. They just make Green Arrow think he moved the objects and they just remain there. You know, instead of mind controlling one of the League members to take the artifacts to someone who could actually summon them. But apparently they get the idea years later when they mind control a lost hiker to go into the abandoned cave and retrieve the artifacts. The guy then takes the objects to a pawnbroker who just so happens to double as an expert of the mystic arts. Oh yeah, the old pawnbroker who's a mystic artist cliche? They're more common than Rattatas in Pokemon Go. But alas, he does not seem very good at his craft. I can tell by his apparent surprisal of the demon's arrival just as he's summoning them. Oh dear lord, I never thought that by summoning demons, I was summoning demons! He soon loses control of the demons, and they show their gratitude by giving him a quick death. At least he didn't suffer? We cut back to Thomas and Gardner as Gardner asks where the League was and what it was up to. Thomas says they were having an election, but it seems like there are no elections in the future because Gardner has no idea what that is. Hard as it is to believe, son, leaders were once chosen for their popularity. Well, except for that one time in 2016 when they were actually selected by how much controversy and hatred they could spread. Anyways, yeah, the League is choosing their new chairperson as leadership used to shift every year or so in the Satellite League. Zatanna is elected, and as the rest of the League congratulates her, she makes a face that is really, really creepy. I mean, seriously, she looks creepy and evil as frick. I mean, you can almost hear the Emperor in her head saying, "Good, Zatanna, good." After a little encouragement from the team, Zatanna steps into leadership and lets the party begin. But with only 5 people, the party seems almost as dead as some that I've thrown. Despite Zatanna lamenting that Superman and Wonder Woman couldn't stay, it seems like the Flash wanted more people to leave. See, Barry has feelings for Zatanna, but they are not reciprocated. She politely pulls an Iris from the CW and friend zones him. After they talk, Barry is approached by one of the most underrated, underappreciated, and overall awesome characters of the League, Ralph Dibny, the Elongated Man. Hey chum, don't you have a girl?
Oh, sure. But it's funny, Ralph. When Zatanna's around, it's hard to remember what What's-Her-Face even looks like.
A true role model, ladies and gentlemen, dumps his girlfriend for a better offer. Well, I guess I can't be too hard on him. It is Zatanna. Even Paul Dini isn't immune to her. Suddenly, the satellite begins shaking, and it's shown to be the 3 demons. One of the demons peers in and tells the League to meet them at Stonehenge. However, before they can do any more damage, Ralph activates the defense field, which sends them flying. The JLA quickly goes to Stonehenge and checks around. Batman and the Flash seem to think that they arrived early, but Zatanna is not so sure.
Scent the air, Batman. Don't you smell it? On the wind, like a threatening storm. There's ancient evil here.
How exactly does one smell ancient evil? Zatanna was right, of course, and most of the team is taken down quickly. Batman decides to distract them in an effort to give Zatanna time to focus on a magical assault. She gives it all her strength, but it turns out the demons tricked her into destroying the artifacts, which were the only way they could be re-imprisoned. Which is weird, because all throughout the story they've been used to escape imprisonment. The demons could not destroy them because they were created by their own magic. So, before they can even do anything, Zatanna simply rebuilds the artifacts and the demons are trapped again. Wow, you 3 didn't think through this at all, did you? And Thomas wraps up his little story, and reveals how he exactly knows it. It turns out that they're actually related to one of the League members. Who? Nobody knows, because the comic ends before he says it. Cheaters! Cop-outs! Well, we'll just see about this. Where is it? Aha! Right here! Every month Thomas Parker and his boy Gardner, last name Parker, meaning he's related to the greatest Justice League member of all time, Spider-Man, and... Wait. Dang it, wrong company. Anyways, this was Justice League of America number 206, and... it's just kind of forgettable. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad book, but there's nothing great either. The story is bland and oftentimes filled with plot holes. There are almost no stakes despite the book frequently claiming that the demons are a real threat. The JLA is hardly in the book, and there is no reason at all for this to be narrated from the 25th century. On the plus side, the art by the legendary Carmine Infantino is really good. If you want to read it, fine. It's by no means a terrible read, but you'd be much better off picking up something else from Jerry Conway's run. Anyways, until next time, thank you for joining me. This is the Watcher of New Earth, signing off.